Am I the asshole for kicking out my boyfriend's homeless friend? Update by the end. So my F22 boyfriend, 24, has this friend, F25, who moved in 4 months because she had nowhere to go. Now I didn't mind having her as long as she respects our boundaries and the rules around the house, but that's definitely not it. She is very loud, comments on everything and just does inappropriate stuff in general and excuses it for being a Latina, and that's just how they are. She doesn't help at all besides maybe cooking sometimes, but doesn't clean up the mess she makes, and she invites people over whenever she wants. She changes in the living room in front of us, literally took off her underwear. And I asked her to change in her room, but her excuse is that she was trying to feel like home, and then she suggested I should too as it will strengthen my bond with my BF. I talked to my boyfriend about how I am kinda uncomfortable with this whole situation, and he told me not to overthink about it and that she's just very unbothered and cool. She always interrupted our time together and would sit between me and him during a movie or take my space while I take a toilet break, and she cuddles him in the most unfriendly way, and when I asked jokingly if she was trying to take my man she would excuse it on her ethnicity, and that's how they grew up, so I knew I had to ruin this Friday night they had for them. I went up to them and she was all over him as usual. I called my boyfriend, and when he was about to get up she said how it was their favorite part and that he could leave later. I insisted, but she kept pulling him, so I went and pulled him to our room. Discussed how what she's doing is really upsetting and I no longer want her living with us, and he agreed I had the right, but that she has nowhere to go and that I'll have to wait until she finds a job, which she's not even trying to get. While talking she came and tried to open the door, which was locked, so she started knocking and we just ignored her until it got louder, and he asked her to leave, but she got even louder and then started saying how I ruined the only time there she gets with him, which obviously is not the case. I had enough at that point, but my boyfriend suggested he talks to her first, so he went, and they took too long, like almost 2 hours, and I went to check on them and heard her telling him he shouldn't accept someone who ruins a friendship as a partner, and that is a big red flag and that he should kick me out. But this place is actually my property that I inherited from my aunt, and at that point I knew I had to kick her out. I didn't even ask with what conclusion they came up with and waited in the living room until they came out, and I just told her to look for another place and gave her 2 weeks max. She's been crying since yesterday, refusing to eat and not coming out of the room, and my boyfriend is saying I went overboard and I just hit a sensitive spot of hers, basically telling her to leave when she has no family or anywhere to go. So am I the asshole? Update. Thank you everyone for the advice and helping me open an eye on the real issue. It was past midnight when I posted that, and my life literally took a 180 degrees in less than 24 hours. It has been overwhelming, and I didn't expect this would reach many people. The comments were like a slap in the face I really needed. Apparently I was too blind. Yeah, I guess my boyfriend isn't who I thought he was. He has been trying to give her food, try to calm her down, and literally took a day off from college and work. He goes on Sundays too, which he never did for me, and he never even get days off from his classes unless really necessary with proof. Nursing. IDK how he managed to get a day off. I really wanted to make sure it is what it looks like before deciding my next move. I prepared lunch way before time and asked him if he was around for lunch, and his response? I am trying to get her to have breakfast and you're talking about lunch. You're becoming unrecognizable. Yay, I didn't know what to reply, so just asked again, but he said we can have lunch together if she's willing to join us, as it is rude if we eat without her. At this point I felt like shit, to be honest, and asked him why was she so important that he cancelled all his plans just to support her emotionally, which he never did when I went through things myself, but he just left like that. I invited my guy friend over, which he doesn't like, and I explained to him our situation and just asked him to be comfortable. I didn't want to do the cuddling stuff like them because we didn't break up yet at that point, and it was weird anyways because we don't usually. My boyfriend never realized someone was over until he came to take food and he saw us having lunch together, and he just gave me a look, said hi, and was going to take some for themselves until he realized it was a creamy rice casserole, which his friend doesn't like, and yeah, I did that on purpose. And chicken roast with some sides, and he literally glared at me and said, "You know she doesn't eat that," and I just replied, "Well, it's not her who I made this for." Then he threw the plate, started shouting, asking what the FCK was wrong with me and that he wishes he never dated me. It was so scary. My friend got involved, they got aggressive, and I just asked him to leave with his other girlfriend, which he replied with, "Oh, so you're replacing me that fast?" But I told him he was the one who has replaced me a long time ago, but I was too dumb to realize. He actually moved in fully when his friend came, and colleges here do provide dorms, but of course it's not like she can live with him, and I couldn't care less anymore. Also, no legal action is required for someone you haven't signed papers with where I live. They were just guests. I packed his things for him, which aren't a lot, and left it by the front door. He came crying and apologizing and acknowledging what he did was wrong and just other bullshit I didn't want to hear because the damage was already done. My friend was of great support and he dealt with everything else as I cried my eyes out in my room. And that sums up how I went through my first heartbreak, and it was my first relationship and I did love him, but I guess I can watch, eat and do anything now without catering to anyone's needs. I am changing the locks tomorrow morning and we're ordering fried chicken, apparently a proven heartbreak remedy by my friend. And although her excuse was bringing up her race, I know better than that. Thank you all for the support. Not the asshole, but, you don't have a homeless friend problem. You've got a boyfriend problem. Not the asshole, but you should kick your boyfriend out too since he has no respect for you. They're both freeloading off of you and disrespectful as hell. Start the eviction proceedings. Not the asshole, this is your property, correct? She has a nerve then to suggest to your boyfriend he kick you out. Not the asshole. She's Latina? With no familia? Lies and bullshit. Hispanic communities are very inclusive. They don't suffer fools though. If she's not welcome by them, it's because she's done this before many times. Kick them both out. If she hasn't already taken your man, she's trying to. I wouldn't think a man who disrespects you enough to cuddle another woman on your couch, in your home, would be worth fighting for. Good luck. Am I the asshole for not letting my sister stay at my home again after she trashed the spare room? I, F29, live in Australia. I moved to Australia 5 years ago to move in with my long-distance Australian boyfriend at the time. He's now my husband and I'm now officially an Australian citizen. I'm originally from Britain and the rest of my family lives there. My husband and I own a house and have a spare bedroom, and over the past 4 years I've allowed my older sister, Becky F35, and her husband and their kids, M11 and F8, to vacation at our home, except during 2020 when there were travel restrictions. They are in love with Australia and are very grateful to visit here. This year, they visited last month for 2 weeks. Becky and her husband took the spare bedroom and the kids had air mattresses in the living room. They had a great time and it was all very pleasant. But the day after they left, I noticed that Becky and her husband completely trashed the spare room. There was food wrappers, crumbs and plastic bottles all over the floor, food stains all over the bed, weird marks on the furniture that definitely weren't there before, and there's an awful rotting smell in the room that we can't get rid of. I texted Becky pictures of the room and said that this is not okay. Becky said she was sorry and said that she and her husband were in holiday mode and just wanted to relax. I told her that me and my husband aren't her maids and said that she and her family are not allowed to come back next year. Becky said I'm being irrational and that it's just a little mess. I told her I don't care and that it's mine and my husband's house and we don't want it to be treated that way. Becky got our parents involved and they accused me of thinking I'm better than everyone and said that I'm being unfair to Becky. Not the asshole. If Becky did that to a hotel room, she would be forced to pay for damages. Anyone complaining can pay for your sister's future hotel bill. Lol, not wanting your place trashed means you think you're better than everyone? I guess we know who the golden child is. She's definitely old enough to know it's fucking rude to trash someone's place, especially when she's staying for free. It seems like even her children have better manners than her. Even when I'm staying in a hotel, I try to clean up my mess a bit. She's an entitled asshole and won't even acknowledge she was wrong, so no, she doesn't get to stay with you again. Not the asshole, stay firm. Am I the asshole for telling my ex's wife that he lied to her? I, 33 female, have a 13-year-old son named Adam that I've raised on my own. His dad, Chris, 34 male, was someone I met in college. We had mutual friends and started dating when we were 18 and 19 years old. We broke up because he told me that his family would never accept a woman like me. I'm a POC, and he didn't want to put either of us through that. I found out I was pregnant a few weeks later, and when I told him about the baby, he basically told me to stay out of his life. I didn't contact Chris again after that. I even transferred colleges, but I kept in touch with the friends I had there. Some of them knew that he and I had broken up, but not everyone knew I was pregnant. When I had Adam, I contacted a few people to announce it. But otherwise I just kept to myself and focused on my son. I didn't think to worry about Chris beyond maybe helping Adam track him down someday when he was older. A few months ago, I got a message from one of the friends I kept up with from college. He said that he was still friends with Chris as well, and Chris had asked him if he had my number. He made sure it was okay with me before giving it to him. Chris texted me asking if he could get to know my son. I told him I'd talk to Adam about it first, and Adam eventually agreed to start talking to him. They've had pretty consistent messages back and forth and 1 or 2 phone calls over the past few months. Chris asked if we'd be comfortable having dinner with him and his wife, and because Adam said he really wanted to, I said okay and we set a time, place. Adam went to go to the restroom and Chris went to go get his phone out of the car because he'd left it there on accident. So when his wife Grace, 34 female, and I were alone, she said that she wasn't judging my choice to do so, but she wanted to know why I waited so long to tell Chris he had a son. I kind of laughed and told her that I told Chris I was pregnant the day after I found out about it and he asked me to stay away so I did. Him not knowing my son was his choice. She looked shocked and told me that Chris had informed her that he'd only found out about Adam a few months ago. I said I was sorry her husband lied to her but he's known about Adam the whole time. Dinner was painfully awkward after that, so it ended a little early. Later in the night when I was getting ready for bed, I got a text from Chris asking why I had told his wife that he had lied to her about the situation. I said it wasn't my place to cover for him, but then he replied that I should have just told her to talk to him about it instead of telling her something that could ruin their marriage. He thinks I did it as some gotcha for how things ended for us. I will admit that I knew telling her the truth was probably gonna make some waves, but the only thing I feel remorseful about is the fact that this is probably going to screw things up for the relationship he's trying to have with my son. Still, was I the asshole for telling her? ETA. I had a conversation with Adam about why the dinner became so awkward last night, and he has said that he doesn't want to talk to Chris anymore because he doesn't think he'll get anything beneficial from a relationship with his bio father that he doesn't already have in his life. I obviously respect that choice and I told him that I could tell Chris that for him if he'd like me to, but he said he'd call or text him on his own. Also, I don't plan to get any child support from Chris because it's not something Adam wants. And because in order to get support I'd have to put Chris on the birth certificate and I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't want him to have any sort of access to my son, and Adam has said he doesn't want him to have rights over him either. Not the asshole. He created this mess. This is on him. Don't let him try to make his problems your problems. They aren't. Not the asshole. The lie was about you. Too bad for him, he wanted to be the good guy in his wife's eyes at your expense. In Ta, it's not your place to life for someone who tossed away a child because it was inconvenient. And the fact you handled everything like a boss is all the better. Plus he didn't even say, "Hey, I lied to my wife, will you cover for me?" Literally nothing. Odds are he only got in contact because the wife found out he had a kid and pushed him and he had to come up with something that didn't make him look like an ass. Not the asshole. He isn't trying to have a relationship, he is trying to white knight for his wife and pretend that you're the big bad wolf. He didn't actually care about your son. Why else was the first meet up a dinner with the wife? Am I the asshole for tolerating a night out with my girlfriend? Earlier this year I gifted my girlfriend, 33F, tickets to a concert that she really wanted to go to. That was this past Friday night. I'm 36M. Not a fan of her music, nor the fact that this concert was in the city, but I wanted to make it a great gift. She was elated when I told her that I bought the VIP package, meet and greet, pictures with the band, etc. Last week my girlfriend began asking if we had to get to the venue early. Being the thorough, detailed person that she is, I assured her I would check. Instead, I was too busy with work. Honestly, it was getting a bit annoying that almost every few days she would ask, so I told her I didn't see anything while deleting a bunch of emails from the venue for concerts I don't even care about. On Friday afternoon, she told me that she had tried looking things up and was only finding that the doors opened at 7. With that, I picked her up at 6 and arrived at the venue for 7. Once inside, she showed security our tickets and asked about for the meet and greet. The bouncer informed us that the VIP was at 6 o'clock. I froze. Now my girlfriend turns to me asking if I received any kind of emails. The tickets were in my name. I told her that I deleted emails and she seemed to understand. I actually really enjoyed the whole time, so once her band set ended, we decided to not stay for the last band. And this is where the trouble began. It's 10 p.m., we're outside of the venue, and she suggests we go to a bar a block away and either walk or rideshare. Immediately I said there was not a chance. She mentioned that my car was in a secured lot and we wouldn't be far, but I lost my cool, which I admit was not the best way to go about things, and told her, "You don't go out in the city. There is crime all over the place." She responded that we were in the city. I went off how I can't stand it here, so she said that we'll just leave. No raising of her voice, she just said she was fine with leaving. She was silent on the way back and I suggest that we go back to my place to finish out the night and she refused. This also pissed me off because I asked what was wrong with the bar next to my apartment and she shut that down with her short responses. Overall, the night cost me over $300, and while she is saying more to me now as opposed to Friday night, she is being very distant. She told me she could live with not going to the meet and greet except for how things turned out afterwards, and that is when the disappointment truly set in. My response was that I was only bringing her to the concert, nowhere else, and thinking of her safety. She continued that I shouldn't have bought the tickets if I was only tolerating doing so. I do accept that I made some mistakes, chiefly with making us miss the meet and greet. The timing of the concert should have made this an unforgettable experience since her grandmother just died. Am I the asshole? Jesus Christ, this is the clearest you are the asshole I've ever read. Poor woman. You took her out for her birthday, made her miss the best part of it and then refused to take her out after? Overall, the night cost me over $300, and while she is saying more to me now as opposed to Friday night, she is being very distant. She told me she could live with not going to the meet and greet except for how things turned out afterwards, and that is when the disappointment truly set in. My response was that I was only bringing her to the concert, nowhere else, and thinking of her safety. Dude, just break up with her. This isn't how you're supposed to treat someone who you're supposed to love. Edit. After a few people have commented don't know where I got birthday from lol.